Nothing is better than...
Wow, it's the sound that you make. How weird. Dumbass facts. Now, with the research, I thought we would look at the story of the woman who had intimate relations with a dolphin.
Named Sarah Baines.
Are you the dolphin in this story, or what's going on?
I could put on a flipper costume.
Do the again.
I'm not sure it's very good, but anyway, we'll roll with it.
No, her name was Margaret Howe Lovatt. So this was back in the 1960s. So she was in her early 20s at the time.
The era of free love.
Exactly, so to speak.
No discrimination.
Now, this story has an absolute bottlenose of twists and turns.
Will not pay it.
Come on. So, just hold on to your hats, okay? So she lived in the Caribbean and she wasn't a scientist or anything like that. She just loved dolphins.
Sorry, Caribbean or Caribbean?
Well, that's just a different inflection, isn't it? Different emphasis and a different syllable, so don't come at me.
Proceed with Caribbean.
So she was doing volunteering in that area and she was at this laboratory that was observing dolphin behavior. And she met this neuroscientist. His name was John C. Lilly. And he was building this research facility, basically a dolphinarium, which is, you know, what you see at SeaWorld and that kind of thing, like a big dolphin enclosure. And it was like a dolphin house flooded with water. And, you know, very originally, they called this particular dolphinarium the Dolphin House.
Is this where they try to put laser beams on dolphins?
No.
Pew, pew, pew.
No, completely. No, stop. Different story.
Okay.
I feel like this is the first plot twist of the story. The research that he was doing was funded by NASA and the United States Navy. So the goal for this study was to learn how to speak to extraterrestrial life forms.
So many questions. So taxpayer dollars were spent so they could send dolphins to space.
No. No. So in the early 1960s, there was a lot of projects to find intelligent alien life.
Yes.
Like they were sending, you know, radio signals out there, trying to see what was there, capture anything, you know, interpret it. But projects like that were very, very expensive. So people were thinking, oh, is it worth it doing this? So this neuroscientist, Lilly, he believed in a lot of non-human intelligence here on Earth. For example, dolphins. And he spent his life trying to talk to dolphins. And he kind of said to NASA, you know, if we can't talk to dolphins here on Earth, how the hell are we going to be able to talk to aliens in space? Let's start here on Earth. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
I can only imagine the paper he submitted and how did he get this research grant money? I'm dumbfounded.
Well, the purpose, or porpoise, if you will. There's going to be some more puns. I'm telling you, there will be. So he wanted to teach dolphins to understand and possibly even speak English.
Okay, I can see where this is going. Right, okay. So not dolphins learning how to speak alien, foreign, extraterrestrial, beep, boop, beep language.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
He wanted to try and converse with dolphins.
Okay.
If he could converse with dolphins, perhaps he could converse with an alien.
Okay.
That's the idea.
All right.
So Margaret had the same passion and she was inspired by this book called Miss Kelly, which was about a cat who communicated with humans. So this kind of led her to do her own research and work with animals and try to get them to speak English, which just seems so crazy.
So first red flag.
Yeah. Lily travelled a lot, so he brought Margaret on. He was really impressed by how passionate she was about dolphins and like how well she studied their behaviour and could interpret their behaviour.
Okay. Had she had experiences with dolphins in the past, or she just read a book about cats? Or...
Yeah. She kind of done some volunteering with dolphins, but like I said, she wasn't a scientist or nothing. She was just a regular...
Just a punter.
She was a college dropout, so yeah, she just liked dolphins a lot.
Can I just say, second red flag?
Yeah. So in this dolphinarium called the Dolphin House, there was 3 dolphins. There was 2 female dolphins, Pamela and Sissy, and they had 1 male called Peter. Now, in the words of Margaret,
Sissy was the biggest. Pushy, loud, she sort of ran the show. Pamela was very shy and fearful. And Peter was a young guy. He was sexually coming of age and a bit naughty.
Now, as you can see, that was not actually Margaret. That was an AI.
Okay, I was going to say Margaret sounds like a robot and she's a freak. Third red flag.
So many twists and turns.
So Margaret's a robot?
So this whole thing, it sounds like an episode of Friends, right? With all the, the 3 different friends, such different personalities.
It's amazing how she's characterizing these dolphins with human traits.
Yeah. Plot twist number 2. They were actually actors from the movie Flipper. So that's what they did before they went into the research facility. They were actors.
Wait, what?
Actor dolphins. Yeah.
They were... So were they in Flipper?
Yeah.
They were?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, she's trying to teach the dolphins to...
What is this? George Jetson?
What was that?
Someone on a Segway.
So she's there, she's trying to teach the dolphins how to speak, and after a while, it wasn't really working.
You reckon?
So she thought, hey, let's take it a little bit further. Let's expedite the process. I'm going to move in.
Okay, yep, logical. I can see the relationship there. Yep, makes sense.
So it was like a double-story facility, right? So what she did was actually waterproof to the upper rooms, and she flooded the facility with a couple of feet of water. So she could literally live in with the dolphins. So she chose Peter to live next to as a housemate, you could say, because he had no prior teachings of any kind of English speaking lessons. He was fresh, ready to learn. So she moved in with him 6 days a week. And on the 7th day, he went and hung out with the 2 girl dolphins and took a little bit of a Sunday break, you could say.
This actually is an episode of Friends.
Yeah, it is. So she had a bed that was dry up off the water, and she had a desk that hung down from the ceiling so she could do all that kind of thing. It was covered by a shower curtain. But apparently Peter would sleep next to her in the water, and he would sleep just as long as she would. So they were like bunking.
He's taking a shot.
Yeah, he literally is taking a shot. Now, I should say as well, I was thinking that they're teaching these dolphins to speak, through their mouths and chit chat. But actually, they were teaching them to talk through the blowhole in the top of their head, because the blowhole, is more shaped like a mouth. So there was a point where Margaret even did like reverse blackface. So she...
What?
She painted her around her mouth with white, and then she coloured in her lips like a black colour so that Peter could watch her lips moving and try to mimic that with the blowhole.
So with her non-educated, no university, no prior dolphin knowledge, she just thought, I'm going to paint my face and make it look like a blowhole on my face.
Yeah. I actually think that's legit. That's a good thought.
I don't know. Why wouldn't they just try and establish what means and then go, okay, great, that means fish.
Well, the boss of the whole facility, so the
this
guy
guy.
that was,
Yeah, right.
not Lily, his name was Gregory Bateman, I think, or Bateson. He was kind of funding the whole thing.
Man with too much money.
Yeah, well, he actually wanted to focus on the communication between the dolphins, right, which makes a little bit more sense. But Lily and Margaret were moving into this other area of thinking that they could teach this animal to speak human, which...
Okay. So it's just taken a 180. They've gone on their own tangent, and here we are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dolphin sleeping near human.
Yeah, so have a little listen to what Margaret was teaching Peter. Off.
So she taught him how to say
Really well. Oh my God, what are they doing? Flyover?
I think they're...
Is this a Hindenburg, a Pitt Street?
Someone got a small...
the helicopter coming down to take you away?
No, they've got a small plane with a banner on the back saying, will you...
Marry me. Oh my God, I will.
It's not. It's fine.
Okay. So have a little listen to what Margaret was trying to teach Peter.
A-E-I-O. Hello.
So as you can see, the inflections were kind of working, but there's a few anatomical restrictions in the dolphins. They can't make the same sounds that we can.
I think they're reaching.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd spent a lot of time investing the energy to get them to mimic what you're saying and you get those noises and sounds in response, I'd be like, oh my God, it's working. However...
Well, they just can't make the sounds. Like, for example, she was trying to teach Peter how to say, hello, Margaret. But the M sound, like, he just couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. And so in the end, he ended up twisting around when he tried to make the M sound and blowing bubbles in the water. So it was kind of like... And they were like, that is Margaret.
I think
Nailed
they're
it.
reaching. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's just sounds the dolphin's making in response, but it's not even close.
What she did find, though, is Peter was still very intelligent. He was very interested in her anatomy. So he would swim over and stare at the back of her knee.
Here we go.
This is when it gets into sexy waters. Stare at the back of her knee for ages and
Peter
just very
loves
curious.
a good knee.
He was very curious.
What is it, the 1920s? He's never seen a knee.
This is 1960s, close enough. Plot twist number 3. It was about this time that Lily started giving the dolphins LSD.
Wait, what? What? Yeah. So someone with no experimental scientific background is...
No. Lily was the neuroscientist.
Oh, okay.
He's the actual scientist.
Okay.
Margaret is the woman living with him.
What are they
John Lilly is the guy who
What are they
was-
going to get from giving a dolphin LSD?
Well, that's what they were trying to figure out. So Lilly himself was actually experimenting, you could say. He was given LSD for the first time by the wife of Ivan Tors, who was the producer of Flipper.
This is just too good.
It's all over the place. He had acid at a Hollywood party. You could say that he liked it, okay? He used to go upstairs into one of the rooms when it was flooded and close the door and use it as a bit of an isolation room or a float tank.
Yeah, a giant
And he
float
would,
tank.
Yeah, be alone and just float in there and be like, whoa. And he was impressed with the mind-altering effects of acid, as most people are.
In reality, he just dropped an acid tab on the ground by mistake in an acid trip himself, and the dolphin's just gone,
Well, unfortunately, no. It's a little bit more sinister than that. He started injecting the dolphins with LSD to see if it would affect the communication between humans and dolphins. He's thinking, there, my mind's open. Maybe it'll open yours, eh, Flipper?
Look, I'm open to it.
Yes. What happened is almost nothing. According to Lily, the dolphins became more talkative, so that it's almost like they wouldn't stop talking. And according to him, there was an interesting moment between one of the dolphins that would never go near humans. So he gave that dolphin LSD and it improved the human-dolphin interaction. In other words, this dolphin that had been spear gunned by a previous owner and never went near humans suddenly came over to him and was just kind of staring at him and allowed herself to be closer to him. So that was unusual behavior. But that's Lily's, documentation. There's no real proof of this. And Margaret thinks differently. She said that this never happened with Peter. Like, Peter was never injected with LSD. She wasn't about to have it,
She's too close to Peter. She doesn't want to think anything bad happened to Peter.
Yeah. So no LSD. However, strange behavior did indeed occur because after a few months, Peter started to get quite sexually interested in Margaret, as you do. So,
Do you? As a dolphin, do you?
well, yeah, I guess. He started rubbing himself on her feet, hands, legs, that kind of thing.
Himself as in like his flipper.
Yeah, not the the long, thin flipper. That's for sure. Usually, Margaret would take Peter downstairs to the girls when this would happen.
I thought downstairs you meant like he's getting downstairs. Wow, chicka wow wow, chicka wow wow.
No, literally downstairs. But she found after a while it was quite a logistical nightmare because they had this giant elevator. They put him onto a sling and then lowered that down to the second level.
I remember that in Free Willy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly what was
Yeah.
happening. And it was just too hard. So in the end, she decided, too hard, decided to do it manually herself.
Manually.
What? How is that a pun? Like a manually? Like a mammal? Manually.
Manually.
Okay.
Manually.
Now that's a stretch.
Okay.
Now here's some more words from Margaret herself.
It was just easier to incorporate that and let it happen. It was very precious. It was very gentle. It was sexual on his part. It was not sexual on mine. Sensuous, perhaps. And that's really all it was. I was there to get to know Peter. That was part of Peter.
So as you can see, that actually was Margaret, not AI. That one was from a documentary that is called The Girl Who Talked to Dolphins, and you can find it on YouTube if you want to find out more, hear more about this story. It's a really good documentary. What she said was it made the bond between her and Peter stronger, not because of they were doing it, but because this lack of having to keep breaking. They could literally spend 24/7 together. So they got really close.
I mean, she said it was sexual for him, but not her.
Yeah.
Yeah, righto, Margaret. Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know. I came into this thinking she was some kind of dolphin rapist. Or
I'm sorry. You're not getting to know your bloody work colleague and he just gets a little bit sort of friendly and you're like, well, I'm just going to jack him off.
Well, it's a dolphin, babe. I mean, people do that for horses and stuff. They eat the fake vaginas with horses.
Yeah, but they're trying to get the horse to mate. They're inseminating something.
Yeah, so how is this any different?
She's not wanking it off to inseminate another dolphin. Like, the process is not to have offspring with the dolphins.
She's getting it out of the way.
She's just wanking the dolphin because the dolphin wants to feel good. And she's like, well, I'll make him feel good, little Peter boy.
No, it's because he was getting all like sexually frustrated and she was like, oh my God, I'm so over this. Let's wank you off. Good, done. Let's move on to more teachings.
I reckon there's a bit more to this. I reckon Margaret's got some flipper fantasies.
I don't think so.
It's weird.
There is more to it though, because on the other hand, Peter did fall in love with her. He was completely connected to her. Now, unfortunately, the Dolphin House did get shut down, and this was not because of the rambunctious behaviour, as Margaret described it. It was because of Lily and his LSD. So Lily went from a scientist to basically a full-blown hippie, and he lost the funding over that because he was injecting them with LSD. He just went a little bit. Final plot twist of this story. Peter was so heartbroken, he'd lost the love of his life, he ended up committing suicide.
How?
They moved him to this Miami lab, and Margaret was told it was going to be really nice, and everyone thought it was going to be a beautiful home. But turns out it was this tiny facility with small rooms, no sun, and he basically held his breath, sunk to the bottom, and didn't come back up again. Because that's how dolphins are. They're not automatic breathers like we are. Every breath is a conscious effort. So if they wanted to end their lives, they take a last breath, they go down, and they just don't come back up again.
It's quite sad.
It is really, really sad.
Yeah.
Really, really sad. More than a decade later, there was actually a Hustler article that came out called Interspecies Sex, Humans and Dolphins. And this kind of tarnished her whole reputation and the reputation of the research facility and everything. And that's why people think, it's a bit of a weird, sexy dolphin situation when actually it's not. And this article was rude. I read some of it And it was kind of suggesting that, young girls go to the dolphin facility not because, they're like dolphins and marine mammals, but because dolphins are sexy. It was gross. It was seriously gross. Hustler, grow up. This is 1970s. I'll give it that.
Is there actually some dolphin fetishes out there?
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
What's it called?
Dolphin bonus? I don't know. I can look into that in a little mini-sode if you want. I was actually thinking of looking at dolphin sex and how they do it. So
With a flipper?
Yeah.
Back of the knee?
Shut up. So Margaret continued her studies. She actually ended up marrying the photographer who took photos of her and Peter. She had 3 kids with him, and they moved back into the Dolphin house and turned it into like this family home for a long time. It's all broken down and it's not a house anymore, but years ago they were living there as a family with their 3 kids.
She's got fond memories, that's for sure.
Meanwhile, Lilly, the neuroscientist, he kind of lost it. Like towards the end of his career, he was convinced that some gigantic cosmic entities that he would,
I tried to hold it in so hard.
He was convinced that some gigantic cosmic entities that he was seeing in his acid trips were responsible for all this inexplicable coincidences. However, he did end up campaigning a lot for working with dolphins in their natural habitat, because I think the mind-altering and the mind-opening, effects of LSD finally led him to understand that it's not about what dolphins can do for him, but what he can do for dolphins, who are a very intelligent species.
So, overall, I mean, not a great outcome for Peter.
No.
But good for science and dolphins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, before we wrap this up, about 6 years ago, scientists from the University of Chile actually did this paper and they released it on the New York Times website about orcas speaking English. So I'm going to play that clip to you now and you can tell me whether Margaret's dream lives on, okay?
Okay.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3.
What do you reckon? Give it up, maybe.
Not convinced. Not convinced.
Dumb AF, that stands for dumb as facts. Yes, that's right, dumb AF. It stands for dumb as facts, not that other thing that you were potentially thinking of. No, it's dumb as facts.